Hey guys, Amy from raisingarrows.net here. And I know it's been a while, but I wanted to come back here to YouTube a bit and just have some of these chats with you. I don't have the time and energy to edit anything extensively, so I'm kind of just off the cuff speaking to you like I would if we were talking in person. And today I want to share with you about something that has been a change in our household here recently, and something that I really struggled with, and hopefully it helps you. Now, I realize not all of you are in the same parenting place that I am, but someday you will be. And that's kind of the essence of this conversation. It's really those changing routines in the household and the changing of chores and responsibilities within the household as your kids get older. So I have 10 kids. And the oldest is 23 and he's out of the house. And then my 20-year-old is back from college and she's here during the summer. And then everybody else is 16 on down to 4. And so my life is a little bit different than it was when I just had a bunch of babies and toddlers and preschoolers. It's evolved to having older kids who have more responsibilities and who are also able to take on more tasks within the household. In fact, what happened was I was finding that people didn't need me as much. My physically demanding motherhood had kind of slid into this mentally, emotionally demanding, but not physically demanding anymore. And I felt a little lost by all of that. And so much so that I ended up calling a friend of mine who was a little further down the road in her parenting travels than I am to ask her what I was supposed to do with this newfound freedom and what I could do to really maximize it and also just help me to transition. Because honestly, I was feeling guilty about all of it. In fact, there was one thing that was really bothering me, and the main reason I called her, and it really didn't have anything to do with this transition. It was the fact that cooking was really becoming difficult for me. Cooking every single meal, even cooking every single dinner, because years ago we switched to a much more flexible schedule for like breakfast and lunch. We only do soup, salad, and sandwiches and leftovers for lunch, and breakfast is on your own. So I always have food that the older kids can get for themselves, and then I help the younger kids with their breakfast. And so I wasn't physically cooking those meals. So that was something, a physical part of motherhood that I had kind of given up. I had done a lot of that over the years, and I was ready to not be cooking 3 meals a day plus snacks every single day. So I gave those 2 meals up, and it was really just get it yourself kind of stuff. But then we got to dinner, and I was feeling like I couldn't seem to manage to cook a decent dinner every single night. And I was really bothered by this fact because I felt like that was the last semblance of motherhood that I kind of had left, which sounds crazy because yes, I still have a lot of kids in the house. I'm still homeschooling, but in my mind, my motherhood was suffering. Maybe I was lazy. Maybe I was not keeping it all together. Maybe something had changed and I didn't know it. And why in the world could I not seem to cook dinner every single night? And it was really bothering me. So I called this friend of mine and I kind of laid it all out for her. And she was like, "Oh, I understand this completely. You are in a transition in your life, and you have got to let the Lord work through this transition and help you to see that things are different for you now. And you're not actually lazy. You're actually very busy in a different way." She said, "You're still homeschooling, right?" I said, "Yes." She said, "You also still have the mental and emotional demands of these older children, and you still have some physical demands with the little kids, but your job description has changed a little bit because now your littlest is 4. So I'm not spending my time pregnant. I'm not spending my time taking care of an infant. I'm not spending my time changing diapers and nursing babies. Instead, I'm now dealing with much bigger things in my homeschool world. I also now, because I have the time My husband needs me more. He has me doing errands. He has me going and checking on things. There are things online that I'm taking care of. There are responsibilities that I have with my family that are so different from what they were when they were little and when they were all little that it looked foreign to me, and I wasn't translating it very well into my new motherhood description. And so I really had to think about this transition in a different way. And so when I talked to my husband about what to do about the cooking, he suggested, why don't you have the older kids take turns? Take some of the weight of that off of you. And again, I felt guilty. I thought, no, that is like the only thing I do. Well, no, it's not the only thing I do, but it felt like the only leftover piece of my motherhood, all these 23 years I've been a mom. It felt like the only thing I had left. I didn't have the babies. I didn't have the diapers. I didn't have those things. Still had the homeschooling, still had all of that. But in my mind, what was I as a mother when I spent 20 years doing that, raising babies, changing diapers, nursing babies, chasing after toddlers? Who was I when that was all gone? And I thought, well, the only thing I had left was this cooking dinner bit. And he was like, no, you have a lot going on. Why don't you have those kids start helping out with dinner? And I knew it would be good for them. I knew they needed to have some responsibility there. But I was very hesitant to let go of that. But after talking to my friend, she said, there came a point where her daughter, one of her children, really loved to cook. And she took over all the shopping, all the meal planning, all the prep, all the cooking, took it over completely every single day of the week. Now, I knew I wasn't going to have any kids who were going to do that, but this particular daughter of hers loved to cook. And she took it all over. And so this friend of mine for years and years and years did not meal plan, did not cook, didn't go shopping, none of that. Her daughter took it all over. And she said it was a very different change for her, but they transitioned into it and it was great. She said, however, things have changed. She said, I've come full circle. Her little kids are not quite old enough yet to be doing that on their own. There's nobody left to take over, and her older daughter now has moved on to other things, and she can't do all of the things that she used to do in the household. She's got other responsibilities, and that happens as well, and I'm going to talk about that some more here in a second as well. But she's found now that she's back to doing the meal prep and the cooking and the shopping and all of those things that she used to do and then didn't do for a long time, and now full circle is doing again. And she said, you're going to find these seasons in your life where they may last for years, but they're changes to the way that you are mothering, to the way that you are running your household, and you have to be willing to embrace the change. And so I let go of the cooking chores. I actually ended up making up a schedule where my 16-year-old daughter had 2 nights a week that she cooked. My 15-year-old son had 2 nights a week that he cooked. I cooked 1 night a week, and my 12-year-old son cooked 1 night a week. Well, then my 20-year-old daughter came home from college, and she loves to cook and bake, and she missed that while she was at college, and so I gave her my time slot for cooking supper. And at the beginning of the week, I ask them what they're going to make. They tell me, they send me the recipe. I still do the shopping. And I still write down what they're going to make and then post it on the refrigerator so that when it's their day, they remember. And then we have a cooking schedule, and it's posted on the refrigerator as well, so we know who's cooking what day. And right now, while my daughter is home from college, I'm not doing any cooking. In fact, there are days when I kind of miss it, and I think, well, hey, could I help? Or could I maybe make a meal sometime? And sometimes on Sundays, we snack mostly on Sundays. And so I will go ahead and make something on Sundays just because I kind of miss the cooking and the baking. And so what used to be this chore that I was starting to feel encumbered by, I now have been like, I kind of miss it. Think I'll do some of that. So on Sundays, I will sometimes cook, or I will pitch in for somebody who maybe has a busy schedule and can't cook. So one of the kids who is able to cook, if they've got something on their schedule where they can't, I will take over for them and cook their night instead. Like tonight, for instance, I'm going to do the cooking tonight. So anyway, that was something that I really had to embrace in the change of my routine and the changing of my motherhood and the way that my household runs, because the kids are getting older. There's not as many physical demands on me with the little kids, but there's still all of the homeschooling, all of these extra things. There's yard work, there's things that I'm doing for my husband, there's things online. There's still a lot going on, and I do still feel overwhelmed at times because there's so many moving pieces, and that's something that has been a massive change. I've always counseled young moms to really try to stay at home as much as possible and make like your appointments on one day, and try not to stretch yourself too thin with sports events and music lessons and going here and there to play groups and co-ops and all kinds of things, because it is exhausting. And I'll tell you what, now that I have older kids and I feel like I'm running hither and thither all the time, I am exhausted. Between shopping and taking care of stuff for the kids, and then I have several kids who work but don't drive. I have to run them back and forth. There's a lot of days where, strings of days where I don't just stay at home. I'm constantly running some kind of errand. Whoops, hit the desk there. And so I have realized that advice that I gave to my younger self and that I gave to other moms also changes. And I wasn't quite ready for that either. I'm an introvert. I enjoy my time at home. I enjoy the quiet and the peace and the calm. And I'm always trying to come back to that center calm. And so this running about actually just kind of wears me down. And so I'm also having to transition and figure out what that looks like now that my life is different with these older kids, and the fact that I do have to run around a lot more than I ever had to when they were all little. So in that embracing of the change and the new routines and the things that are different about our household, I am starting to discover a new side of myself. I'm starting to discover a new routine. It's going to take time. It's one of those moments in your life where you realize nothing is working the way it once did. And I've had places like that. I remember when my fourth child was born and I sat on the couch and stared out the window and thought, what have I done? Nothing works. Nothing will ever be the same. And guess what? I found a routine, and yes, I was still overwhelmed from time to time, but I found a way to make it work. And so that's what I want to encourage you to do, is to think about where you are. And if you're in one of those transition periods where things are changing, perhaps you've got relatives who are needing to live with you, or you're moving, or you're working on renovating the house, or you have kids who are getting older, think about the things that need to transition from your old routine into a new routine. Don't think that everything that you used to do is going to carry over into this new life that you have, because it's probably not going to. And you need to let go of some of those things that maybe are actually holding you back. For me, it was cooking dinner every single night, and I was feeling bogged down, but that was because I had so many other responsibilities that oftentimes I wasn't even in the house at 4 or 5 p.m. because I was still busy with other stuff. And that was why it was bogging me down and becoming overwhelming to me. That was why we were eating so much frozen pizza, or I was grabbing something out really quick, or I was just trying to avoid dinner time completely. And I had tried different things. I had tried the freezer cooking, and that worked for a time. That really can be a really great idea. I had tried just cooking very simple things. You guys have seen probably my post, and I think I did a video about it as well, of the simple meals that are things that your family loves and writing one of those lists. They're particularly helpful when you're having a very overwhelming period of life. But what I realized was that all of those things were not actually fixing the problem. They were band-aids. And the really deep problem was the fact that I didn't have time for that stuff anymore. And my life had changed in a way that needed to change as well. And I was still hanging on to it white-knuckled, that's the only motherhood thing I'm doing. Well, that wasn't true. That wasn't the only motherhood thing I was doing. I was doing motherhood stuff all day long. But it was the last semblance of those little years. And I was hanging on to those. And probably it's going to come full circle again. I'm going to be cooking again. There's going to be less people in the house at some point, I think, except on, holidays and stuff like that, as we start to add to our numbers again with daughters-in-laws and son-in-laws and grandchildren and things like that, hopefully. And anyway, I know that that's all going to change. Those are all transitions, and those are all changes to my motherhood, my parenting, the way that our household runs. And I have to be willing to embrace those changes and recognize the Lord's work in all of those parts and pieces of my life. Who I was 23 years ago when I had my firstborn is not exactly who I am now, and my life cannot stay the same. It's going to change, and that's an important part of growing up. That's an important part of becoming a mother to different ages. And I had to be willing to embrace that change and embrace that transition and be joyful in it. And so that's what I want to encourage you today. If you are in a stage of transition, change, things are different in your house and you're feeling bogged down and overwhelmed, perhaps it's because you haven't quite embraced those new things that have come into your life. I hope you have a blessed day, and please enjoy raising your little arrows, and check out my blog at raisingarrows.net. Hit the subscribe button and be sure to come back. I plan on being here a lot more than I have been in the past and just having these little chats with you. Have a great day, friends.